Thank you for coming a bit early, guys. Just to let you know, we'll be starting at 12, so in half an hour. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll be getting started soon. Thank you. Can people hear me? Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the final workshop of this three-part series. Thank you so much for being here. So today's workshop is on the spiritual gifts within emotional triggers. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time or who are new to Ananta, Ananta has been guiding people, guiding seekers for over 25 years to find freedom within themselves. And she's a bit of an expert on emotional triggers and how to meet emotional triggers consciously. So this is going to be a really powerful, really profound workshop. So we'll start with a deep guided into being before Ananta goes on to give a talk, and then she'll invite interaction towards the end, interaction and questions towards the end. And also at some point, Ananta's going to announce the winner of our little competition that we've had on the go these last few weeks. Okay. So I'm going to pass you over to Ananta now to start the workshop.
Can you hear me? Am I? Yeah. As usual, I'm juggling a lot of balls right now, and I got a really intense mosquito attack right as I was about to open. So I've had to, in the last few minutes, while we're on talking, I've had to make up a natural concoction of mosquito repellent because the ones I've got are not working. So all that's going on. I'm triggered by the mosquitoes. And there's always going to be something, right? There's always going to be something. First of all, before we get into this, can I just check with you, Chris, the lighting? There's one above me here. Shall I get rid of that? And this one, it's that one there, isn't it?
How did you have it last week? It was pretty good last week. I'm not sure.
But no, I didn't. Hang on. What happens if that one's off?
I think it's too dark now. We can't see you at all.
Okay. And now?
Yeah, that looks good.
Is that good?
That looks good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I've got it all going on around me. I got this Palo Santo thing burning. All kinds of stuff, because how am I going to drop deep into the depth of what silence offers with buzzing triggers waiting to suck my blood? And that could be seen as a metaphor in life. How are we going to drop into our depth and keep going for what we really intend and what we long for in this life, while there's these mosquitoes buzzing around after our blood? So everything really is a pointer. Everything is speaking and pointing the same message in whatever form it takes. So in this moment, it's the form of this situation, but it's exactly that. How are we going to drop back into our innocence? When we know there's something or someone always waiting to take advantage of that. And so we need armors and protection and defense. We need to protect this innocence somehow, which is where our doorway to the magical, through the doorway of our innocence, this opens into the profound, the magical, the free, unconditioned being that we are. Hang on, I'm just going to try to untangle myself a bit more. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this beautiful subject. Triggers will always be there. What is being triggered? What is the message within it? What is the opportunity? And who are you? Who am I within this? Okay, I'll just spray my feet and then we can drop deeper. This one is so much more delicious than the one you get in the shops. Yeah, it's essential oils. And then I'm going to add a little bit of divine resin from Mexico. Like that. Yeah. Okay. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to sink. Whatever could be moving through our life experience, using that as the doorway through which to sink right into the experience of now. dropping through the layers of feeling and down, like sinking down to the bottom of the ocean. Letting go into not knowing anything. Not knowing. Allowing yourself to be fully in the space of not knowing how things should be, not knowing how things are, just being in that vulnerable space of unknowing. The innocence of being. sinking deeper. Where you have completely lost the whole story of me, where you're sinking deeper into what you actually are underneath the story of who you are. And what you actually are underneath the story of who you are is the same in every living being. And this is where we get to actually meet. And the more we let go into this meeting without any of that holding up any persona or having any pre-recorded story, the more we sink into what we actually are, there is a merging. A merging with all existence. Like there is no end to what I am and no beginning of what you are. And all that is included in this, arising in this, the sounds around, nature doing its thing without any plan, babies crying, mothers responding, all of this is going on. Rising up out of this merging of the unconditioned essential intelligence at the source of all life. In this moment, I find no beginning to what I am and no ending. I find that all that is arising arises in me. Yet I am not in any one place, separate from anything else. And this is the space, this is the spaciousness of being. That is a safe container. For all that can ever arise through my system, my individual body, mind, nervous system, for all that can ever arise and move through. This is the space, the spaciousness of being, which is the container. Which allows for all that may, for all that is, and for all that may rise and fall, to just rise and fall. For all that can be triggered, for all that can be touched, for all that can be seemingly lost, and all that can be seemingly found. For all of that, this is the container. In this moment, who are you? And while we are at the bottom of the ocean, we are aware of all those waves on the surface. And it's all here, all at the same moment. It's all here constantly. The depth and the surface. And then slowly, slowly, slowly and gently. Here we are, meeting as this container. Through which this unknown unfolding of this meeting, of this session can unfold. In your own sweet way, in your own sweet time. Feel welcome to move towards. Yum, yum. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, towards coming into the meeting with those beautiful, magnificent balls that give you vision, we call eyes. Open. We are so lucky to have eyes. Good evening. Well, evening here. Yeah, in the first place, I come to this meeting empty-handed. I know I got all my little bits of smoke and stuff, but I come with nothing, no idea, nothing prepared, not knowing, with one clear intention, and that is to speak on this subject. But the first thing that comes to me is really the willingness to really be here and not know is rare, and especially these days with the stage of evolution we're in and this whole spiritual awakening that's starting to touch so many beings. There's coming with it a kind of a phase of I know. Now I know. It's part of the putting the stick in the ground. I know, and it's a truth, and it's necessary to own your own seeing and your own recognizing. But at a certain point, it can get in the way because there's so much more than what we know. So much more than what we know. So it's a delicate balance of awakening to what we realize and what we know, and to stay vigilant and open and available for what we don't know. So triggers are a good deliverance from life to show us our reality in any given moment of what we're taking to be true, what still has a hold on us. We can all get triggered. I can get triggered, and what gets triggered, what gets activated, a pattern, the nervous system, an old play of events, that memories get triggered, a heartbreak, a wound, a pain that's been unmet gets hit and triggered, and then it's activated, and all of the reactions that come out of that haven't yet been seen are now in full force and trying to control the situation. I think we all know what that feels like. Sure, I turned my phone off. So we all know what that feels like, right? When there's something that really touches a deep wound, and it can be a trauma that's been in the unconscious, and we don't really know it. It's an unconscious that has armor around it, and then there are mechanisms of how to defend and protect and be somebody in life as a result of that original wound. And when we haven't seen that, and when we haven't walked through that consciously, it's an automated response. It's automated, and it was put in place in a certain time of the life intelligently. It had its place, and yet it kind of can be fixed in place as a automatic response that happens in all relationships when that wound is touched, instead of like really being willing to stop and go and inquire, meet the wound, really have a look at what's happening. This fast automation, because it's what's been learned in the system. So relationships are a great way in which we see all of this play out. And a relationship can be, you know, there are different modes of awareness that we can be operating on. And if we get triggered and then we start moving with that identification, and then we're moving on that level, protecting, defending, going in that track, prove I'm right, and whatever it is. We can either be moving in that mode, or we've already got the willingness to stop, feel what's touched, and take a look, and to know it's already in our awareness that this is a gift, this is something for me to use as a vehicle for more freeing. So before we know that that's a possibility, it's usually always just the same trigger going around, right? And at some point, that trigger is so painful that it leads us to a search, to start looking like for other ways to be able to deal with this pain. And many of you will know what I'm talking about. That search leads to all kind of tools and whatever it is that can help. But ultimately, that search must lead to the question, who am I? What am I? Who am I in the middle of all this? And so from my own perspective, what I can say is that if a trigger happens here, the beauty is, you know, it can trigger the nervous system depending how much stress is going on in the life. It can trigger reactions inside, in the brain, in the mind, in the this, in the that. Yet I can never take that to be who I am. I can never buy into that, so I add another layer. So if, for example, something hits the system and it stings, and in the same moment I see, then there is a choice of how I act with that, how far I go along with that, or if I start just being honest with myself. If I don't catch it, because it's such a automated thing, and there are stress levels, and there are this and then that, and your parents are dying, and all those things, many stresses going on at the same time, and the system gets triggered, and you see that happening, and you're like, fuck, it's happening. Reactions have now happened, right? But because there's no identification, I can't take that to be me, then there is no guilt, shame, pride, blame. Guilt, shame, pride, blame is gone when you truly know yourself. So even though within the thinking and within the response of the thinking patterns, there can be pointing the finger to blame someone, or that can be going on, there's still the container of who you are to see through that. So these triggers are like they're showing you where you are. They show you where you are, where you need to go, what is now coming conscious, it throws you back to yourself. And that's the gift that I've always found within these triggers. And many in the beginning of this journey, the Walking Awake journey, it was really, really strong, this sense of me, identity, and being in relationship, and I was with a beautiful man, and all the women thought so too, and that triggered in me a vigilance, like whenever we were somewhere and I could feel all of the women like and that triggered in me like that kind of vigilance. And I really, really had to come to see all of my mistrust and fear of rejection and holding and all of that ball of tightness around that whole thing, and how that was blocking us being able to really keep on opening together, because there was fear that he can be taken, he can be lost, he'll go with someone. Because deeply in my system, there was an unconscious belief at that time. It's not unconscious now, but there was a deep, deep belief in my system that you can't trust anyone, So depending what that deep belief, those deep beliefs that are so often unconscious and playing into everything, they show up in the triggers. So yeah, I couldn't get away from that one. I had to feel it every time there were all these beautiful women around, and it was showing me so much about where I was still identified, where I was hooked, where, you know, and the only possibility within that situation was for me to die to all those places. And that felt like death. I mean, I don't know what does death feel like, but what we can imagine, you know, it's like the complete, there's nothing more, you just have to completely give up and surrender until you are no more. And that situation took me into that, dying into that pain, because it was so painful. It was so painful. This tightness of me was so painful. That's what was painful. The tightness of this thing I took to be me. This me. What about me? You know, that was painful. So I'm giving one example here of one situation, and of course there were many, but in that situation, I could only lie back on the bed, and because within my mechanisms of trying to control, to protect this me, I caused problems in that relationship. I caused to push him away. Deeply out of a fear of losing him, I pushed him away. You know? And that's how these things go. They got layers to them and layers to them of how we have put mechanisms of patterning together to avoid this core pain. And this core pain, it all comes back down to the original wound of me. This me separate to all existence. What we call ego, but ego is not a dirty word. I don't mean it in a dirty sense, or it's a bad thing, or it shouldn't be there, because we need that to live in this world. It comes with the vehicle. It comes with this vehicle. It needs its own identity. It needs its own individuation as part of the process of humanness. But when we identify with that identification, it becomes the root of suffering. And so, yeah, I had to die into this pain, and the dying into that, and the dissolution. And where that actually took me through and into endless open spaciousness of freedom, where I couldn't care less anymore, you know? I couldn't care less, because this is the love I can never lose. This is it. And that shift changed everything about the relationship, right? So, yeah, these triggers, they can be packed in so many different packages, levels, so many facets of how these days I don't have these kind of triggers, but of course the system is still triggered by the stresses of life, right? The stresses of life, the amount of the way that we're all kind of pushed down as a human to like be so small and fit in this tiny little box, to do as we're told by governments and this and this and this and this, and to fit into this little squeezed thing which is not the truth. That's a trigger in itself, isn't it? To cope with living a lie in a world full of lies, and to be true to yourself, that in itself is going to trigger the truth and the lie constantly, right? So I don't say that the triggers will ever go away, you know. It triggers me that I have to go next week to the next country to get a stamp in my passport, which is a lot of travel. Just for what? For what? Because somebody made that rule. And it brings more money, whatever, to these people, whatever it is. I don't know the reasons, but these triggers that cause stress to the system activate mechanisms. Where are you in the middle of that? Do you know yourself no matter what? Will you be true to yourself, to the one you really truly are, no matter what? Will you empower the lie that is weaved into what is activated? The lie of your traumatized self. Because sure, there's been trauma for every body mind. There's been trauma. There's been belief systems. Will you be true to that? Will you energize that and keep on giving it a life and be true to that? Or will you step out? And that is the opportunity on the table within every trigger. And as long as you go on being true to the trauma and being true to who you're not, that's what you get to live. And that can go a whole lifetime to when the body is ready to return to ashes. And the whole life has been there. And there are more human beings living that way than there are free beings stepping out. My invitation to you is to clarify why you're really here in this life. What is your highest value? Clarify that. And don't settle for less. So we can explore this a little bit. I think speaking has happened, and we can open the space for some interaction. I'm just getting a bit more copal from Mexico. So beautiful. Yes.
So if anyone would like to interact, you can raise your hand. Oh, we've got a question in the chat.
Okay.
I'm just going to unmute you.
Hi, Anna.
Unmute who?
It's
where? Where? Speaker. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much. What you've shared today is really alive over here where we are. Scott and I have been close friends for 5 years and in a romantic relationship for 4 months. That last night today, we have discussed the movement away from that. Can you hear me okay?
The movement away from the romantic.
Yeah. The romantic relating, yeah,
The romantic, the movement away from what?
from the romantic relationship.
Okay. Because
And
it's causing too many triggers.
too many triggers. Yes. Yes, exactly that. And what I would like to, in my question here, because obviously I don't necessarily have Scott's permission here to discuss the relationship, I would like to more take responsibility for my part, and knowing that there are patterns that are playing out in this relationship that played out in previous relationships, romantic relationships, and that I can also identify have clearly been a part of my dad's masculine lineage. My grandfather, the energy of my grandfather keeps coming through, even though I didn't know him. All I know about him is that he was, according to my family, so abusive and aggressive that we didn't get to meet him. And I feel I carry that. And along with it, I'm sorry, I'm just feeling a lot.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's just feel it together. So everybody in the field can just be present to that.
So this is what happens. I feel like I'm outside in the cold, and that I can feel my body trembles, and that I have no safety. And so I recognize that I look for that. And I had that in my father when my mum left when I was younger, and sought my father for that safety.
Sorry. Your mum left when you were younger.
Yeah.
And
my dad became that physical stability, that safety. My dad was that person. I then transferred that at 15, transferred that to a boyfriend. And since then, I've done that from relationship to relationship.
You've just stop there and feel that for a moment. Just be here for her. This is her. This is her. Let's just be here for her. Yeah, be here for her. Be here for her. Yeah. Without thoughts. It's just this moment of feeling without thoughts. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. And continue. So in each relationship you mean projected onto the partner to be your safe space.
Yeah.
And then when it's not that, yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's coming conscious for you, that feminine patterned aspect. Right. That's the in a way, the child longs for safety. It's natural. So you don't have to kind of slap yourself for that. It's the child longs for safety, right? Mm-hmm. Where can you find safety within the container of this relationship? Where can you give yourself that safety? What would that look like for you to give yourself that safety that child aspect of you can depend upon within you?
My own physical space.
Right.
And in order to move to be really with here.
Yes. Yes. So can you honor that? Can you give that to yourself so that you don't, because the moment that you're not taking responsibility for that,
Yes, I hear that.
and then you want him, whoever he happens to be at the time, to provide that, and he can't. And then he starts feeling the burden. And then that whole thing, right? So when you see what you need for you, this is self-empowerment. This is where you empower yourself to be there for yourself. And in that way, you free up the job you put on him. You free it up. And you take responsibility, right? And once you've got your own space and you can really be for yourself in that, then you have more of a capacity to see differently rather than to see through that dynamic.
Yeah.
So it's self-empowerment.
So I have done that. I moved out on the 1st of March. I moved into a rented place. What I realized through that movement and the space created in the last 2 weeks, I realized that there is almost like I think it's like an equilateral triangle of things that are feeding each other. Basically, that at one point I've got relationship, at the other point I've got job or income, and then at the other point I have home. And I've made some sort of relationship between all of these things, like feeding each other. And I really don't have clarity on that. That was a seeing yesterday morning.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, like feeding each other? How do you mean that? Because everything is related, right?
It's
So
almost.
What do you mean?
So, for instance, in the instance with Scott was providing a home, and a beautiful home and a safe home. However, I didn't feel emotionally safe in it, and I didn't have an income. So then I was outsourcing my safety to him financially and physically.
Right.
Where then I felt emotionally I was bringing a lot to the table.
Right.
Then led to a kind of the energy of a narcissism victim kind of cycle within the relationship.
So now you've stepped out and you've got your own income and your own space.
Yeah.
And what is the problem or the issue now?
So now it's the job income situation.
You have it or you don't have it?
That I don't have it. I don't have either. I don't have a job or an income. Here we get into the rub. Yeah.
So you don't have a job or an income, so that brings insecurity.
Yeah.
Right? And that triggers, if there's a deep sense of unworthiness, or it triggers the fear, it triggers all of that, right?
Yeah.
And what do you who pays the rent?
I do currently with what savings I have. But there's an awareness that I need to buy a car, get a job, that just requires seemingly a fair amount of money. And then there's the added dimension that I just don't want to go into another employment that I feel unfulfilled.
Yeah. So this is what you're bringing here. I mean, it's beautiful. It's something that we all know, and that's what I was talking about when I said being boxed into a small, how the way this society is all set up, how we are made to be so small and boxed into small little, the pressure to survive is enough to trigger all of this survival, right? And we all know it. We unless we're born into money or something like that, we all know this survival thing, right?
So how do we break
So,
the cycle?
so how do we break the cycle? I can only say that I feel, I have survival. I've got to find, I don't have a home. I have a temporary place for another month. I don't have a regular income. I don't have any of these things. This is my work. This is my love. This is my passion. This is my honesty. This is my work. And I go with that, but I don't have an income and I don't have a home. Right? And I'm dancing on the edge of this moment with where the gift is that comes through here, the gift to be of service to the other, to the world. How can you be of service? And I mean, really, truly be of service, not just be of service so that you will pay me, but to truly, truly come from a place of being of service. So if you get really, really, I mean, I know in my own heart and in my own being what my service is. And I know that it is immensely valuable. It's priceless, right? There is no price that can be put on that. It's the one who values it. So, the only thing I can say to you is, what is your service? What are you serving? And if you're serving to the fear and the insecurity, then what can you bring to the world through that, through there? So it's really like clarifying what you're here for, what you're serving. Look, if you have to go and sell mangoes on the side of the street, like many of these beautiful women around here are doing, that might not be your ultimate mission of this lifetime. But when you do it with the service of bringing the most juicy mangoes, and you don't cheat the person, and you give the right thing, and you're in service. It doesn't matter what your job, it doesn't have to be a spiritual job. It can be something that you bring your love through. Something that you are really of service to the other, because, and this, it roots back to this same false identification that we humans have been born into, of separation. Like we want to survive and earn money, so we do it just to get the money for ourselves, for our own self. I do this job I'm doing right now, offering this course only so I can pay my rent and buy my ticket and get my food. No, it has to be greater than that. It has to be much greater than that for it to be essential. It's where you come from in that, what you're serving, and what's the energy in it. What's the energy in it? And to get in right relationship, and this is something that I'm exploring and looking into myself, to get in right relationship with the energy of what money is, because money itself doesn't really exist. It's a form through which we exchange our services, right? The woman on the street with the mango is doing a service. She picked those mangoes from the tree and she carried them to the road. She's done a service, and therefore she gets a form of exchange, which I've had to do something of a service to get that piece of paper that represents what I give to her. But the money itself is not in that paper. It's in the energy of exchange, right? So what is in that energy that you're moving in the form of exchange that we call money? Like, to get in right relationship with that, rather than that be the biggest pain in the arse that causes us all this stress because we haven't got it, and we hate it and we love it and we want it, but we don't want to look at it, and we don't want all the things we got going on around that. It's like to change our whole conditioning, our survival conditioning. So I would say start looking at it differently, not from a place of fear and stress, but out of how would you really, really love in this lifetime to serve your life energy into this world. It doesn't mean that, you know, if you love painting lovely pictures, that you're suddenly going to get paid loads of money for that. That's not what I mean. I mean, bring that energy to whatever you do. If you have to work in a, what do they have in England? No,
Shops.
24-hour, yeah, shops. You know, if you have to work, if you have to do something that you have to, look, you're a healthy, young, intelligent woman and being. You can go online and and look for whatever you can do to help some virtual assistants or whatever it is to pave the way while you get more and more in touch with, but be in it for the service.
Yeah.
And the intention. You know, I know that if this body drops off next week, next month, next year, drops away, that I really am living what I serve, what I love, what I came here for. And if I couldn't survive with the gift of this, then I would have to think about something else, you know? I don't know. It's just getting in right relationship with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last time I met you, you sat next to me and said that you should be in the chair that I'm in. Right? And I think I said to you, not before you go through all this stuff.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The humbling is what I remember you saying.
I said the stumbling is the humbling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all part of it. You're young, you're still a spring chicken, you know, you're being made. And this is part of the work. This is all part of the work that's growing you, preparing you, nurturing you, all of it. It's letting you know what this is. You have to go through life to gain wisdom.
Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah. Okay. Let that digest.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. And good for you that you find out what you need and apply it. And whether this relating goes in a romantic direction or a friend, it doesn't really matter as long as you're both just true to what is true, you know?
Yeah, I hear that. Thank you.
All right, stay warm. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. In this, you know, we're offering this 3-month journey, and this is really the first time it's ever been offered. I've never offered a 3-month course to go along in a container. Could you unmute yourself? Could you? That was something that Joanne said to me, Chris, was to ask you to unmute everybody. I think everybody is unmuted, aren't they?
You mean muted? Muted.
Unmute everybody.
I think she might.
Where's that noise coming from?
She might have meant mute everybody.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. This is all an experiment, you know, like the offering of this 3-month journey. This is something that hasn't been offered before. And it's really, you know, we have meetings like this, and there's no commitment on this call. There's no commitment. It's all free. It's all open. You just show up and we have this exchange. It's like an open relationship, right? It can only go so deep. And when you make a commitment and you go, you commit to go deeper and to be in something for a period of time. Like if you commit to a marriage or, you know, a one-on-one relationship, you're in it, and it's the vehicle. It's the vehicle that's going to bring up what can't come up in an open relationship. You know, so it's like it's a bit more in an open relationship, it can seem more free, but it doesn't really go deep. And that's the thing, is to really like clarify your values in this life. And once you have your values clear and you know why you're here in this life, what do you really want in this lifetime? What do you want in this lifetime? Like for however short or long it is. What's your journey? What's your service? What's the mark that you want to leave? Through this lifetime. So you're not just here just to survive and just to pay the rent and figure out how to pay the rent and survive. You're actually here as a signature of God is an expression, right? I don't mean there's some God in the sky. I mean that you're a manifestation of what we call godliness, this pure intelligence that has miraculously birthed this form into being. You are that which has birthed this form into being. You are that. And to awaken as that which is birthing all forms into being is to live a different life. You know, it's not just this like, oh, we're all in this awakening. Oh, we're all awakening now. This new like thing. It's really, really to be rebirthed as that which is birthing all of life, and to live on a different trajectory or mode, because you look differently, you look differently, you think differently, you move differently, you're in a different frequency altogether than when you're in this conditioned, patterned survival. I just got to get it, be somebody, learn to be somebody, get enough of this thing called money so I can pay the rent, and now I'm okay, I can survive, at least that. Yeah, many humans are happy just with that, happy enough because it's doable. And then there are the ones who have gone from the beginning for this thing we call money, gone for the success, gone for with that just boom, and then get it, and there's still something missing. You know, it's really to clarify why you're here in this lifetime. What it's not really the why, like the 4-year-old going, mummy why, it's not that. it's you really, really facing your own mortality and going like, okay, if I was to leave this earth, am I really a movement of what my deepest calling moves me forward in? Who am I? What am I? Am I really the name that I have and the story that goes with that name? Am I going to keep birthing that into life? This life is an opportunity to know deeper than this life and to live in a different way. And when we live in this different way, every single moment is like an eternity. It's like it could all end anytime, but I'm on the right frequency. I'm living that. And if you're not, somehow there is a suffering. It can be covered over with beautiful experiences, champagne, sex, drugs, rock and roll. It can be covered over, but a deep down angst will be there. Unless you really, really, really are living who you really are. I'm open for interaction if anybody has anything. Yeah, along the way over these years, these many years that I've been walking this, you know, so many tools, all of the body work, all of the bioenergetics, all of the releasing all the stuff through the body mind, all of the investigating, the patterning, the dancing, the ecstatic, the sexual, the tantric, all of the ways and the tools, you know, all of it. It all comes down to one thing in the end. Because we can go on doing all of that until the end of the life, but it all points to one thing in the end, and that is what you take yourself to be. All of those things will momentarily bring relief and momentary change, but for as long as you are moving through dysfunctional ways, you're being done by patterning until you really, really remove identification from identification. Seems like such a little thing, but it's everything.
I think Susan wanted to speak.
Sorry?
Do you still want to speak, Susan?
Yes, please. Thanks, Chris. Nice to see you.
Susan?
Lovely.
Sorry? Could you speak up so I can get you on the TV?
Can you hear me?
Say something loud.
Ah! Can you hear me?
No, say it louder. Yes,
Oh,
I can now. I can
hear
see
me
you.
now?
Hello.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Hi.
Thank you
Hello.
so much for that really heartfelt sharing.
Could you do something about your voice is very, very low?
Can you hear me better now?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's been coming up for me recently, trigger-wise,
Yeah.
is I struggle the most when I see other people getting hurt. So,
Getting. I can hardly hear you. So, do you have a mic that you can bring close to your mouth,
maybe, hang on.
or don't go too far?
See if I can use this. Is that better?
Yes. Speak
Is that better now? Can you hear me?
a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead. So, what gets you is.
I'm noticing I'm getting triggering now if maybe what I perceive as people who are maybe a bit vulnerable being hurt by others.
So, what is there a question?
Yes, it's what is that triggering me? It's almost like I feel responsible for other people.
Which other people?
So I'll give you an example. One, I work in a hospice, so obviously there are people in there that we're taking care of and we want to look after and make sure they're safe. And so if I see practices or other people in the hospice behaving in a way that I feel is harmful towards the other person, so just it's not they're not it's lack of their awareness for the way they are with others. And there's a part of me that can see it all happening and can see it unfolding. But there's like I feel like I want to protect that being, that person, or I feel responsible.
Yeah, well, you can, like be the change you want to see.
Yes.
Wherever you can bring awareness to these points. I've been in the hospices, I've been in the care homes, and it is excruciating.
Yes.
Wherever you can bring awareness to that and let your heart break, because when you see it and you feel it, it's heartbreaking.
Yes.
And you need to feel that and let your heart break. And also you could let that be seen by the others, the ones who are in those roles, who are working from ignorance. You can let it be seen how heartbreaking it is to observe other human beings being treated in such ways. Let your heart break be seen. Don't tuck it away, don't hide it. Let it be seen and be the example of what you would like to see throughout. While I was in the hospice with my mother and in the care homes, my mother and father, in those situations, I used to call it out and let my heart break and let people see, and I would name it and I would cause a scene, but I know that I wasn't always received very well, and I know that I caused disturbance, but sometimes that's my job, and sometimes there was one nurse or one caregiver who made all the difference for the rest by showing heart, by coming through and really meeting me in the eyes and giving recognition and really taking care of my parents like they are real beings, And that those odd people made all the difference, and you are one of them to make a difference. You know, you are here to make that difference in those scenes. Show your heartbreak. Let those other, the ones who are ignorant, see it. Let them, in whatever way you can, without losing your job. Let it be. Bring it into awareness. That's your job. You know, that's your job. Not just working in the hospice, but that's your job. Is to bring a difference. When the eyes are open and when awareness is awake, you're here to make a difference in the world, in whatever way, shape, form, or role you play. It is important. We need awakened hospice carers. We need it in all the systems, you know, and to give yourself fully to that and really make that a mission is a wonderful service that you can bring, you know.
Okay.
And if it breaks your heart, let your heart break and let it be seen.
Yes, thank you. That makes me feel much better, because you know I'm not one to shy away from speaking my truth. But
Good.
there's a part of me that's like, and maybe that's the conditioned part, that just wants it all to be peaceful, wants everyone to be friends. It wants everyone
Yeah, but it's not like that. And sometimes that can I mean, that's what keeps you in conditioning. That's what keeps, you know, it's like you want to keep it all nice and don't say anything, but it's also empowering that ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, it's empowering the conditioning.
Yes. Yeah.
I would use the situation to bring godliness into the room, into the space, and into the hearts of all beings.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You know, I would, in those situations, I looked eye to eye, deeply into the eyes of caregivers, and I asked them specific questions that made them have to look at where they were coming from.
Yes.
You know, because that's somebody's mother, that's somebody's father, and one day it will be you and I.
Yeah, absolutely. We need
We
more
need-
conscious people in hospices.
We need it. We need it. We need it. We need it
Yeah.
in everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, awakened being doesn't just look like doing the job that I'm doing, becoming a teacher and whatever. I didn't plan this. This was given to me, you know? It was given to me and I accepted the role reluctantly at first, you know, but I accepted the role. But these days, there is like a collective thing going on where everybody whose eyes open, they start thinking, now I have to become a teacher and step out of the world. It's not like that. You become the teaching by being it in whatever you're in.
Yes. And
Huh?
sometimes that is rocking the boat a little bit.
You need to rock the boat.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah. Be uncomfortable.
That's your job. It's not always comfortable.
No, it's not.
I caused a riot in those scenes because I'm so odd in the face of the system. I don't fit in. I don't go by the rules. And so I was constantly, in fact, they called the police. They go, they did. They reported me to the police.
Wow. Yeah. Well, it is more challenging, I think, working in the system where there's a status quo and you're not particularly liked, but it's not. I'm over that now. I don't care if people like me there or not.
Exactly.
I'm there to serve the people
Are you here
that
to be liked?
more vulnerable.
Yeah.
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 How I see
I mean, That's something to look at. How many of us sell our true freedom for to be liked?
Yeah.
How many of you are readjusting yourself into certain roles for to be liked?
Mm.
Get up off of that thing. You know?
Yeah. Thank you for that affirmation or that reassurance that it's okay for me to rock
Confirmation.
the
Yeah.
boat. Yeah.
Yeah, confirmation. You know it deeply. It's like that piece of you that just doesn't dare.
Yeah.
I say cause a riot. You know, you've got to be in this lifetime to really step out. You need a rebellious spirit.
Yes.
It's needed, right? We didn't get here this far without a rebellious spirit. Come on, to step out and say no to all these bullshit rules and regulations around us. We need a rebellious spirit. Yeah? That we can create our own world. You know, if there's enough of us, if enough of us wake up with the eyes open, if enough of us are giving our whole life to the truth that we deeply know and we're in service, we can create a new world. Not the world they got planned in the government's things, even though it's all part of consciousness. We can create a world where we know how it should be, you know, when it's moved with presence, awareness, care, love, attention. We can do it, but we need to be fully committed. So, yeah, lovely to
Thank you.
meet you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I want to say with this offering that we've gladly given these 3 meetings for everybody to join for free with no expectation, and it's a beautiful thing to do, and it's wonderful, and I'm really touched to meet you all and happy to meet you all, you know, even though we didn't all have interaction. But at a certain point, then we need to present something that is a paid program, right? Because otherwise, how? We all got to be involved in this thing. We've got to have a healthy relationship with this thing we call money. It's not the thing that there's no morals around that. It's the vehicle of exchange in this world that we've put into paper and made it. It's become like the thing which is so powerful, but it's not. You know, it's our relationship with that energy which reflects how we feel about that. And yeah, at a certain point, we need to present this course, and there is a cost to it. And that cost is something where I give a commitment, and the person on the other side makes a commitment. And now we're in a committed field. And in this, something else can happen, you know. So just to say a few words about this 3-month journey, as I was saying, all of the avenues through which I've journeyed through all of the so many tools is always here. It's always here. And in this 3-month journey, although we put a curriculum and we put this module, that module, this we do like that, it's never fixed. It's always fluid, and it's always the call and response. The field, in the field, it leads the way. It leads the way, and out of all the tools that are here can be used through music, through dance, through shaking, through crying, through laughing, through connecting, through projecting, through all of those things that can be used in whatever it is that leads the journey into greater and greater liberation. And that's really, we called this 3-month course Undoing Dysfunction, but actually when we undo the dysfunction, what is then left? And that's the freedom to really, really live freely. So I think that I should announce the winner. Is she on the call here? Dun dun dun. Now we know it's a female. Dun dun dun. If she's not in the call, it might not happen. La la la. Da da da. Are you on the call? Be Joy. She's not. What do we do now then, Chris? Okay, so is Connie on the call?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. What do we do from here? I'm stuck. Okay, so there was a runner-up, and that was you, Callum, who we would offer a 50% off if you would like to join. And I think that we can consider what to do about the other thing. We consider that after, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So are there any questions? Okay, no questions. This is oh, I've been running for quite a while. There's a hand up. Who's that?
Hey, Amanda.
Hey, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, what's your name?
Adam.
Adam who?
Adam
who?
Sweetman.
Oh, that's you. You know, I had to ask because I've seen this name on Born to Be Free, and I see it again and again. And I think, is there really a person there? Is there really someone behind there? Oh, that's great. That's great to meet you. Hello.
Yeah, I asked the question because I never want to ask questions. Basically, I think my main thing is the problem is that, like, I hear like what you say, and I kind of, like a lot of people, I think, get it intellectually. But I feel like when like the rubber hits the road, you know, when something like big happens that I feel, you know, that I care about, be me or relationship or whatever, then the identification just comes back, and this becomes like kind of a nice story that I don't believe anymore. And so I always have this fear that, like, when, you know, these big things happen, this is going to be I swear this becomes some BS that I've kind of, like, you know, a story I've made up, and when it really matters, you know, so if I make like a commitment to doing these things, I'm going to lose, you know, what really matters. And so yeah, I guess it's not I don't know if it's a question or a comment or what, but that's kind of like what I feel, and that's what I wanted to say. And that's my problem.
Right, when you say you're going to, right, okay, when you say you're going to lose what really matters, and what is that?
So, I mean, the things, I mean, like, it could be my life, it could be my relationship, it could be a friend, you know, my job, something that I have a belief somehow, like, this is, like, I don't want to lose this. You know, that's what matters.
You
And
mean
so,
you don't
yeah.
want to, you don't want to lose the thing in life, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so are you aware that whatever big thing comes along, like you said, when a big thing comes and it overtakes everything, and then it looks like the spiritual realization or whatever has just disappeared, and this big thing comes along and that's all there is, right? Can you also agree that that big thing that comes along, it also goes? It doesn't stay.
Intellectually,
Right?
yes.
Well, not even intellectually. You check it out. Check it out for yourself. Do you know anything that stays?
No.
Right. So every situation that comes, every big trigger, every big situation, it also goes at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Right? You know that. You know that. You don't need, you know that. Look at your life. Every big problem that ever came also went.
Yeah.
Every difficulty that came, at some point it changed. Right? Because that is the nature of experience, is that it turns into something else. Constantly, there's no experience that you can keep. And every time that it comes and it passes and it's gone, then what is here? What is here? What is here? So this that is here, which is the space in which this thing comes and then goes. This that is here, does it ever come and does it ever go? This that is here now, not this experience of talking with me, but the container of this experience, the space in which this experience is happening. This interaction is going to pass, it will end, but the space in which it's happening will be here for the next experience that comes and goes, and the next, and the next, and the space of this experience, which has to be here in the first place for anything to come and go, has always been here and cannot go anywhere. So then we need to more deeply inquire, what is this space? We can see that this space which is here, is its very nature is aware. It's aware of whatever experience will come, and it's aware when that experience is gone. The space itself is aware. Is this true?
Yes.
Right. Right. Any doubt about that? Right now.
Right now, no.
You check it. You check it intimately and directly right now. The space which is here is aware. You check that. You check that. The moment you go into, yes, but then this and this and this happens, you jump on a train which gives you the experience of overlooking, overshadowing what is here. But that train is going to end. Once it reaches its station, it dissolves, and here you are. So to keep on inquiring more and more and more and more and more into what this actually is, this that is here all the time, to really come to inquire what is the difference between what that is and what I am. And then we go deeper and deeper into that inquiry, which would take a bit of the thing we call time. The more deeply we go into this inquiry, you find by yourself, not because I'm saying it, in your own alive, direct experience right now, the space of being aware is not different from what you are. Is that true?
It is true.
I can hear the yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. And I can hear it, you can hear it, it's there, but we don't care about that. Right? So the difference between you and I is that still, you still care about that sometimes, and you become that sometimes, and you believe in that sometimes. And so that's normal in the beginning, because that's the one you've built yourself up to believe yourself to be. So it doesn't really want to hear that it's got no place, right? But so you can let that one know that you do have a place. You can come with me in this. You can line up with me in this and start telling the truth. The question is, whatever you can lose was not yours anyway. So what is it you're afraid to lose?
But I think it's mine.
You think it's yours.
Yeah, I think it's
What?
mine.
You think the body is yours? It's yours for a while. It is. The body is yours for a while. Take care of it. But you can't control how long it's going to be here for. You know? It's that hesitance of, if I wake up, what about my life? What can I lose? And this is illusory, because you all that you can lose is what wasn't true anyway. You can't lose. You can only lose what is false. But don't believe me. I point and you check. You know, that's my job, is to point and you check. Every time I keep pointing, I keep guiding to point and you check. So I didn't give you any answer and you're left with more space.
Thank you, Annette.
Yeah. Lovely to meet you. Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet
It's
you.
lovely to know the face to the name, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, are there any questions about the upcoming course? No? Okay. I'll hand it over to you then, Chris. I think we're at 2 hours now. Where's he gone?
Hello?
Yeah, I'll hand it to you to do the whole sales bit.
Well, I'll give it a go. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Ananta forgot to mention that there's a £100 discount on the course, which expires at midnight tonight. So if you use the coupon code Awakening100, then you can get £100 off up until midnight tonight. Yeah, and I thought I'd also just share a little bit about my experiences working with Ananta. So I met Ananta when I was 25, and I was just in a lot of struggle, a lot of suffering, a lot of seeking. And I decided to, well, not decided to, there was a real pull to just expose myself to her teachings. And it was through exposing myself to these teachings, to this transmission, to this energy, just over and over again with time, without me realizing anything was happening, just by following the resonance, resonating with what she was saying, resonating with what she was sharing. And something just started seeping in, just seeping in, seeping in. And that happened through really being in the teaching, really being in the energy for an extended period of time. And that's why the 3-month course is a really great opportunity, because you get to really give yourself to this teaching, really give yourself to the energy. And something can happen, that space inside, which is okay, that space inside, which is always smiling, that space inside, which is complete joy, complete love. It can open up inside your heart. I didn't know this space at all before. I didn't know it. Well, I knew it a bit, a tiny bit, but through exposing myself to the teachings, it just deepened. It deepened. And Ananta's been a really important part of my path, an incredibly important part of my path, and helped me actually out of a really dark time of suffering. So if it's possible for you to join, if you do resonate with her, if you've resonated with these 3 weeks, then to go in for a 3-month period can really shift things for you. It really can shift things. And not just for that 3 months, it shifts things ongoingly. I haven't been really attending Ananta's events for a couple of years, but it's an ongoing deepening. Something is just deepening in that. It gets into your soul. Whatever she's talking about, whatever she's teaching, it really gets into your soul. If there's a resonance, if there's a commitment, and if there's a dedication to it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Well, I didn't know I wanted to share that. It just came out. But yeah, so you can sign up by midnight tonight to get the discount. I also want to mention that every week there's you'll get a dropping meditation and homework exercises. There's pair work exercises. So it really is an immersive container where you can give yourself to this energy, give yourself to this teaching over the 3 months. So it starts on the 2nd of April. It's going to be running on Sundays. The first 4 weeks will be 12 o'clock midday UK time. And then Ananta comes back from Thailand. She lands in Europe, Portugal or Spain. And then the times will get later. So those who are in the US, if you do want to join us, then the first 4 weeks, you might have to get up a little bit early in the morning. But then after that, you can have a lie-in and you can join us in the afternoons or midday for you, it'll be. So yeah, also there's a full day retreat next Saturday, which you're welcome to join as well. If you sign up to the 3-month program, you get that for free if it goes ahead. And that full day retreat is only going to go ahead if there are enough numbers. So it's not guaranteed. And of course, if you sign up and it doesn't go ahead, then you'll get an instant refund from that. But that'll be a really, yeah, we'll be meeting for a full day just to really drop deep into these teachings. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the links in the chat and you can follow those links. Let me just get it up.
I'd like to say something in response to that, and my heart is so touched, Chris. What I'd like to say is that, you know, hundreds, thousands have come to these meetings and retreats over the last 25 years. But and anybody can wake up. Anybody. It's so easy. I find it so easy to shift somebody into recognition. It's a very, very easy thing, but it's very, very rare that somebody will actually shift into it and value it over everything else and keep going with that value. And Chris is one of those. Yeah, and that's rare. I've seen it over the years. There are a few that actually just click into that recognition and stay with it and honor it and be true to that and make that the life. And that is rare. And that's the energy you're feeling coming through, Chris. And that takes commitment. It takes real commitment. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Carry on with your sales bit.
Yeah, I'm just going to pop the links in the chat. This is the first one for the 3-month course. And this is the 1-day intensive, which is next Saturday. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for coming to this 3-week program. It's been really great meeting with you all. I'll stay for a few more minutes if anyone has any technical questions or anything like that.
And we'll keep that group open on Facebook. We'll keep it open so you can all continue interacting and sharing. And thank you so much for showing up. And thank you. Lovely to meet you. And see you. Yeah.
Okay, so if no one has any questions, then we'll end the call there. And I forgot to mention, I will send out an email with all of that information. Okay, and Callum, you'll get a special link. You don't need to sign up by tonight or anything like that. Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, guys.